What was your frick it I don't care about the price moment? A skip the line ticket for the catacombs in Paris. It's double the price. 36 euros instead of 18 euros. But there were 221 people in line when I got there. With controlled entry. People going in has to match people going out. And I was able to walk right in. Saved me at least 3 hours. Is gladly pay 6 euros an hour to skip a line. Last year was my 5-year anniversary with my girlfriend. We went to NYC and stayed in the Library Hotel. $360 per night. Thought it was too much, but she's a librarian and I kinda wanted to check it out too. No freaking regrets. It was worth every penny. So much so that it's probably going to be the go-to hotel for our yearly NYC trips now. Free wine and cheese every afternoon. 24/7 free snacks and beverages. Awesome staff. Pretty central location. Each room is themed out differently. Rooftop bar, etc. For NYC, that doesn't even seem that crazy. I paid $120 a night for a room that could barely fit the bed in it. Replacing my singing chicken alarm clock. Many years ago, my mom and I were having an absolutely no Christmas spirit holiday season. While dragging ourselves like zombies bad legs through the task of our shopping list, we came across the singing chicken alarm clock. For some reason the song tickled me so much, it immediately lifted my mood, and I, in turn, lifted my mom's. I bought a chicken, and it became a prized possession. A few years after that, I moved to the UK to start what I thought would be my new life with a boyfriend taking my chicken clock with me. Long story drama free and short. Things fell apart when I came home at the end of my visa and asked him to send my things home to me. Many items, most notably my singing chicken clock, never made it back to me. Years had passed, and the novelty alarm clock was well off the market. Sounds silly, perhaps, to pine away for a thing, but I miss the clock. I spent years looking for it online, with an I don't care about the price attitude. I found one, and purchased it, this summer, or yet. We spent $2,500 on a new mattress and another $2,000 on an adjustable base. The furniture store offered 0% APR financing for 72 months, so we went with it, and it was honestly the best decision we've ever made. After sleeping on a cheap $300 queen box spring mattress for 3 years, our backs were destroyed and our sleep quality was horrendous. We now have a king size half spring half Tempur-Pedic, and I can adjust it if he starts snoring. Our quality of life has improved tenfold. Same here. We spent way too much on a really quality bed and mattress, but I've never slept better in my life. You can't really put a price on that. Going out to eat at a high-end Michelin star restaurant. Had to make a reservation 2 months in advance. Got the drink pairing for every course. You could look at the menu online if you wanted, but that would spoil the surprise. It was the best food, drink, and service of my life for like 2 hours straight. I knew the bill would be crazy, but it was worth it. Back in February, I had tickets to see Hamilton in NYC on a Sunday afternoon with my mom and sister. Already a frick it I don't care about price moment in its own right, but not the one I'm talking about. The three of us got to the city Saturday afternoon and started looking for tickets to something else that night. We stopped at the Lion King and Come From Away box offices first, but they didn't have anything good. We then went to the Aladdin box office and they had 3 front row center mezzanine seats for $200 each. I've seen a bunch of other shows on Broadway outside of that weekend and haven't spent more than $100 per ticket, and most of them have been better shows than Aladdin. But 3 front row mezzanine seats was too perfect to pass up, especially since it meant I was getting to see the voice actor for the original Jafar, Jonathan Freeman, perform the same role live. Sunglasses. I almost got into 3 accidents in a month because my new commute had me driving directly into the sun in a way that I never had before, and I realized I couldn't see jack crap. So I said frick it and paid $300 for a pair of prescription sunglasses. This was before I knew about places like Zenni, so now it seems a little stupid, but it was still cheaper than insurance and buying a new car. At that price point I'd be okay with wearing those clip-on sunglasses and looking like a dork, as well as wearing a hat while driving. Buying a suit. At some point, if you want a good suit that will last you a long time, you have to stop caring about the price. Hiring a sleep consultant. My family is very frugal, by necessity, and a $500 for a consultant was a lot to pony up. Even after 3 years of poor sleep, even after looking at our funds and setting aside the money, I wasn't able to actually pull the trigger until the toddler stayed up more than 3 hours past bedtime for the third night in a row. Again, leaving me exhausted and off and desperate. I smashed that confirm payment button so hard. Wish I had done it 3 years earlier. It was worth every single dang penny. When I decided to buy my company from my boss, he gave me a price. I got funding. I wrote my boss a check, and I've never been happier. Bought one of those Green Man suits right after the Always Sunny episode. Now every time I go to an Eagles game I drink for free. I think it's paid itself off, at least 27 times. Man, I have a suit and tailgate half the home games. I never put 2 and 2 together. When I was given the bill for a potentially life-saving changing medication for my degenerative autoimmune disease, pharmacist told me over the phone it was $1,473 for 1 month's supply with my insurance. I paid the first month, then got on an assistance program and haven't looked back. 3 in the morning at a casino. Just one big at blackjack turned 50 into 1,000. I was hungry. I got to Fat Burger and they were closing and cleaning. I offered them 50 each if they made me 2 burgers. Best tasting burgers ever. Bought a PS4 on my day off last year. Up until that point, my most current video game console was the Wii. I loved video games and realized that, except for those dinky carnival style Wii games at GameStop, I would have to search online or at a thrift store to find new games. I still lived at home with my parents at the time, so I wasn't paying any big bills, so I got myself an upgrade. Frick, I love my PS4. This was me a year ago. Went with the Pro. I know this is kind of lame, but it was one of the best purchases I've ever made. This past week on vacation, had a small room for myself, wife, and 2 young kids. Asked if anything bigger was available. Ended up with a 2-bedroom suite for basically double the price. Worth every penny. My father-in-law passed away and my wife and I found an incredibly expensive turntable in his garage. But I had nothing to hook it up to. A couple years and too many dollars later, I have a setup that's the envy of the apartment complex. I mean, it would have felt wrong to hook his equipment up to shoddy shelf speakers. When I was in Japan, I visited the Shibuya Disney store. I found this adorable Winnie the Pooh Tsum Tsum set and I had to buy it. While I was waiting in line, I imagined giving my 2 nieces all their gifts and showing off my Tsum Tsum set. Then I imagined them asking if I got one for them, saying no, and them having disappointed, sad looks on their faces. I kept telling myself that I just wouldn't show them the set, but I couldn't shake it from my mind. So I bought 2. They were really happy with the set. That's so sweet. You wonderful human. You. Sniffle. Okay, this is a long post but worth a read, I promise. My brother and I hated each other growing up. I was admittedly horrible to him, to the point where my parents seriously considered sending me across the country to get me away from him, and the crowd I fell into that encouraged the behavior. By 16, I had smartened up. I realized my brother used to be my best friend, and, at least in the beginning, the hatred I saw wasn't really there. I created it because of my attitude. By 17, my brother and I have a weak but still loving relationship. He moved to a small town a few hours away from our own, and I set my sights on the big city. I had a stable job and lots of disposable income, but him and his live-in girlfriend, now fiancée, were struggling. So I put $1,400 in his account. Told him it was all the butthole tax I owed him. He cried and hugged me for the first time in 6 years. Fast forward a couple years, we're all living back with my parents. He asked everyone to pitch in for a Nintendo Switch as his combined birthday and Christmas present. He begged for this. It was all he wanted. My family just couldn't do it. They couldn't bring themselves to only give him one gift. I didn't have the disposable income, but I dang well have a good work ethic and a love bigger than this world for my big brother. So I saved for months, went without my expensive vape stuff and went back to bare minimum. and bought the Switch myself for him. I presented it to him on his birthday 10 days before Christmas, and that was the second time I ever saw my big brother cry. Money is never an object when it comes to him. I love him beyond words. Both gifts set me back, and the first may have been partly out of guilt for my past actions, but the rest of it and all of the second gift were pure love for the man who taught me to walk and talk. He protected me even when I treated him worse than dirt. He deserves every penny I have and more. This is some good stuff. My hardback copy of the definitive Calvin and Hobbes collection. It's $100 brand new, and I've already read the Calvin and Hobbes strips, but having them in a nice, bound collection with crisp pages, full color, and additional write-ups by Bill Watterson, I dyed it for years, but finally got it for myself for my birthday a few years back, and it was worth every penny. Missing my train. I met this amazing guy, but I had to catch a train the next morning. I purposely missed it, and laid in bed with him all day cuddling. I ended up purchasing another train ticket that I thought was for that evening, but was actually for a different day, and had to buy a bus ticket as my last resort. Probably spent about $200, but it was worth it completely. Last time I was in Lima, Peru, I got a chance to meet the distillers behind Pisco Montelos, which is a super limited production, ultra high quality pisco made in a completely obsessive way. The kind of stuff they serve at the presidential palace when other heads of state come to visit. Anyway, their customer list is known to be super top end. Michelin-starred chefs, heads of industry, past presidents, etc. So, I met the owners just a few days before a small tasting event of their latest batch, and they invited me, kind of with the understanding that I'd buy a few bottles to take home with me. The pisco itself was out of this world. If you've ever drunk pisco that's too good to put in a cocktail, you'll know the kind of aromas you can get out of it. The scent alone when I held my glass to my nose was so nice I didn't want to stop smelling it. We paired it with a chocolate that's also produced in Peru, called Original Beans, Pura Porcelana varietal. It was out of this world, and the other guests at the tasting were some of the nicest and most interesting people I've ever met. Everyone put in their order for the number of bottles they wanted separated for them before the rest was sold to the wider customer list. I had the opportunity to buy 2 cases at $100 per bottle and immediately said yes. Haven't regretted it since. I often invite friends home to drink some Montelos, smoke a cigar and listen to some good music at my place. Every time I do, we end up making it memorable. I often invite friends home to drink some Montelos, smoke a cigar and listen to some good music at my place. Hi, it's me, your friend. Running behind schedule leaving Venice New the Vaporetto, water bus, to the airport would probably get me there just in time to miss my flight. This due to some PPL I was leaving with taking forever to get ready. They still weren't ready and I was going to miss my flight. Frick em. I was hungover and hungry and jerked around by free acquaintances, and I had spent literally all my money but €100. So I hailed a water taxi, a rather humble looking one as far as they go. However, he was waiting to pick someone up, but he would get his friend to take me. Precious minutes later up pulls this guy, looks like the assassin Jason Bourne killed in Munich, and the goddamn sexiest boat I think I've ever seen. It's all wood stained black. Black upholstery. Anything that would be metal looks to be carbon fiber. It's shorter than most of the water taxis and looks fast. He looks me up and down all trying to maintain my cool face. Solo. Aeroporto. €100. I give him all my remaining money like it was no thing and just say pronto. Cool as heck. What proceeded was the most exhilarating experience of Venice I could imagine. I had visions of the Italian Job. I was Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. Roger Moore's ghost was crying. Flying down canals, boat drifting or whatever around corners, taking shortcuts where the old stone walls were inches away and our wake came over windowsills. Dude was stone cold stoic the whole time, but I could tell he was kinda loving it. We tear into the little airport marina way over the speed limit and whip past penny pinching burgess families taking selfies before getting out of their own taxis, lamenting how worth it to leave Venice in luxury. The bean is over and sexy art trash from all over the world is hanging around. Knowing I gotta cool it all the way through, I hop out before he stops and don't look back. He take the cue and whips around back out of there. I can feel eyes all over me, asking who that cool dude is. Turns out I'm 45 minutes early and hungry as hobo and totally broke, but so cool. And hungry as hobo and totally broke, but so cool. Hunger leaves, baller experiences are forever. One time I was drunk and a passenger in a vehicle, out of myself and the 3 friends I was with. Apparently I was the only one with any money. I wanted Taco Bell. They declined, saying they couldn't afford it. I said frick it, I'll buy everyone's food if we can stop. I think I spent around $70 on Taco Bell that night. For 4 teenage girls, only one was sober. That's a lot of freaking food. The only time my daughter ever asked for anything, a Nintendo Switch. She's playing it now. Birthday present for today. She's probably so happy. I bet she's gonna remember for ages when her parent got her new favorite game for her. Well, I bought a horse head and didn't care, but considering I walk around wearing it now and then, should I really be discussing fiscal responsibility? I hope you mean a horse head mask. My daughter's senior prom. She was a small girl, about a size 6, 5 feet 2 feet with JJ boobs. We spent so much time trying to find a dress that fit. We drove 90 miles to the nearest city and spent about 12 hours looking. She finally found a dress that fit. Took it up to the register without even looking. It was $600. Frick it, we bought it. She's since had a reduction and can wear normal clothes. Since she's had a reduction, this is basically pointless information to OP but may be helpful to others. If you have gigantic, insert body part here, try to buy what will fit the larger part of your body and then get a tailor to get the rest to fit. It's not as expensive as you'd think and it is worth every penny. I may not be capturing the essence of your question, but I'll say this. Took my parents out to eat on Sunday. Price did not matter. Money was no issue. They got what they wanted and more. I feel like every child should do this. Just treat your parents and let them enjoy the night for once. Not a big moment like this, but I recently bought myself some nice socks. I saw them in the display. I liked them. I bought them. I didn't even look at what the price was. I'm normally the type that will compare the price of every different kind and buy the cheapest one that meets my minimum standards. But this time I was like frick it, I like these socks. I'm just buying them. It felt good, but I still usually compare and research everything. Pretty much any time I buy a new bicycle, I build everything out and set a budget, but almost always end up spending way more. At this point I've just accepted that if I want the bike to be the way I want, it's going to be expensive and probably more than I'd like. Honestly, getting anything exactly the way you want it is probably going to be more expensive than you like. I have a genetic disorder that causes me a lot of chronic pain. Traveling is tough on me. One time I was having a particularly nasty day of flight delays and general air travel bulls, and so on the last and longest leg of my flight I said frick it and upgraded to first class. Worth it. After traveling for about 20 hours I couldn't find the free airport shuttle back to my car. Took a cab. Best $20 I spent that whole trip. My dog wasn't eating anything we gave her. I tried some wet dog food that was kinda pricey, and she gobbles it down. Totally worth the price. If your pet suddenly won't eat dry food, but will eat wet food still, it's time for a vet visit. It's a sign of a tooth or jaw problem, usually dry food being harder to chew causing pain discomfort. My vacation to Hawaii last year. Flew out there first class, rented a convertible that I drove all over the big island and slept in a king suite that was bigger than my apartment and had an obnoxiously large soaker tub. Grand total, $4K give or take a couple hundred. Actually, $4K doesn't sound too bad. My boyfriend collects portmeiri on fine china. I knew he didn't have a teapot, so for his birthday went to this real fancy high-end kitchenware shop in town and asked them for the biggest fuck of portmeiri on teapot they had. Something I could serve enough tea for a bikey convention from. Cost a big lump, but worth it. When I found out my wife was fricking around behind my back 3 years ago, goodbye 15 years of waiting and planning and hello 1080p projector, screen, 5.1 soundbar with wireless sub and rears, HDMI switch, cables, Logitech Harmony remote, Steam Link, controllers and ceiling mount, Bring it up, B. I dare you. My first guitar was a 1970s Guild Dreadnought that they stopped making long before I was born. It was a gift from my dad when I was 15, which was a big deal because he and I did not have a good relationship for a long time and the only thing we agreed on was music. It had been his first guitar too, until my little brother accidentally knocked it off the stand and snapped the headstock clean off the neck. I genuinely wept afterwards, and we ended up donating it to a school a friend of ours runs that teaches underprivileged kids how to repair instruments. It was unfixable, but apparently they had fun trying. Maybe 10 years later I stumbled onto another one in a vintage music shop in Boston. Same year, same model, everything. It's by far the most expensive thing I own, and is worth more than several cars I've had in the past, which, to be fair, I've always owned piece of crap cars. But, true to my redneck roots, I still haggled $300 off the price even though I would have paid literally anything I could afford for it. And now when I'm not using it, it's hung on the wall, way out of the way of bumping into. School a friend of ours runs that teaches underprivileged kids how to repair instruments. That is very specific. I was recovering from a flood that destroyed my house and all my possessions. I was in a stage where I was spending as little money as possible by buying only what was absolutely necessary and buying only what was good enough. My focus was on replacing my house, not the things that would go into it. And then my sister had a baby in Massachusetts in November. We had no winter clothing. Our friends had no winter clothing we could borrow. And it was still 70 degrees by me, so we were a long way off from winter sales. I bought pants, sweaters, warm socks, boots, coats, gloves, hats, and scarves for everyone in the family, and paid retail. Then I bought 2 suitcases, went to the airport, and flew into a snowstorm to meet my new niece. Great. Now I feel crappy because I'd be like, yeah frick no, send me pics and call it a day. Good on you though. After Chester Bennington died and Linkin Park announced a memorial concert, I decided I had to be there. LPU members and people who had bought tickets for the upcoming tour had early access before tickets officially went on sale. The day tickets went up for sale I waited on the page to buy them, and exactly when they went up I went for it. But they were already sold out. I said frick this, I'm not living the rest of my life without having seen my favorite band. I decided I would use a credit card and try for some of the seats up front. The only ones the website said were still available, $2,200 for a pair, even though said sold out over and over until one attempt went through. I snagged those seats, went to my first and only concert I will ever care about, and made it into the video for the live stream of the concert. No regrets. 1. Surface Book 2. I agonized for a couple of weeks, but it was such a good match to the features I wanted. No regrets. It is absolutely perfect for my job. 2. Going to see the Aurora Borealis. I had wanted to see it all my life, and we realized we were nearing the end of a 10-year more active cycle and it would be a decade before it was likely to be that good again. Said frick it and booked a pretty pricey trip that was one of the shining moments of my life. Achieving my bucket list of traveling to every continent. Antarctica costs an arm and a leg. I even convinced my travel companion to sacrifice another limb and fly business class. Worth every single penny. I rate it 11/10. You know those inflatable T-Rex costumes that have been popular lately? I found a giant inflatable Pikachu costume. No regrets. Got lit up by some ground hornets. Called a pest control guy and said kill them. I'll pay more if they suffer in the process. Buying a new couch. The fiance and I decided on features we wanted and tested out a few couches with those features until we found the couch we wanted and bought that. Price be damned. Still very happy with the couch. Preface this story by my husband and I are huge hockey fans. Even our wedding was hockey themed. My husband's birthday was around the same time as Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals this year, where the Tampa Bay Lightning were playing the Washington Capitals. He made a joke about going to the game to his buddies online while I was on the couch with him, so I looked up ticket prices. $1,000 for plane tickets alone. I told him we could go if he could get his dad could secure tickets. We'd go. His family lives in the area. His family is all Washington Caps fans. I'm a Lightning fan. Lightning won game 5. He was super poopy, but the Caps won the series and the Stanley Cup, so he won in the end. Probably the time I got blackout drunk on Cyber Monday. I didn't remember doing anything that day, but a week later I received a new $1,400 gaming laptop, $80 G-Shock watch, and about $200 worth of bulk candy weighing in about 12 pounds worth of sugar. Drunk me really knew how to surprise sober me. Buying a $200 custom-made carrier, as well as paying $120 extra on my plane ticket in order to move my bird from Mississippi to Alaska with me. Didn't have to give him up or rehome him, and that's priceless to me. $15 KR of pocket for kids' medical treatment. To help her not be fricked up, we'd pay it again and live in a box if need be. I know there are 15,000 responses already, but it feels good to get it out there, so thanks op. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.